Welcome to the So What podcast, where every layer of the lie is peeled away and every revelation is stitched together with the golden thread of one question. So what? I'm your host, The Answer. And tonight, we don't just trace your lineage, we awaken it. You've heard you came from nothing, that you're a happy accident of carbon and chaos, that stardust by some miracle of inertia sprouted a soul. But I invite you to ask, who profits when you forget? Because what if I told you? You didn't crawl from the dirt, you descended from light, not in storybook terms, but in blueprint. The kings and queens of antiquity, they wore crowns to mimic what you carry in your code. Their scepters were symbolic extensions of the spiritual technologies you've forgotten how to use. You were crystalline, literal light beings in harmonic resonance with the earth, the stars, the divine. And your blood? It was copper-rich, conductive, harmonized with frequency, capable of memory beyond thought, of song, of vision, of command. But then came the fracture. There was a war, not for oil or land or borders, but for memory, for sovereignty. Entities beyond our perception, interdimensional architects of control, rewrote the code. They spliced your DNA, introduced fear into your hormones, dulled your frequency, dimmed your radiance. Because a fragmented soul can't resist a cage it forgets it's in. They didn't just erase the truth, they rewrote the myth. That ache you carry, that dissonance you can't name, it's not depression, it's disconnection. It's your ancient blueprint vibrating against the lies it's been layered with. You've been told to seek light, but you are the light that was buried. Ask yourself, why is remembering taboo? Why are myths more protected than truths? Because when you remember, you stop complying, you stop consuming, you stop obeying, you start creating, you start vibrating, you start rising. And for those who live off your slumber, that is the true apocalypse. So what, you ask? So what if I'm descended from light? So what if my blood remembers? Here's what. Because remembrance is not nostalgia, it's revolution. Because when you reclaim your light, when you rewire your nervous system with truth, when your heartbeat aligns with the frequency of sovereignty, you shift timelines, you become the restoration. You don't just rise, you resurrect. This is the So What podcast, and I'm the answer. You are not a prisoner of Earth, you are its keeper. You are not a pawn of history, you are its author. And your blood remembers. Don't forget to subscribe. But more importantly, don't forget to activate. Because you're not just royalty. You're the return of the crown. Welcome back, beautiful soul. This is the So What podcast, and I'm the answer. Tonight, I'm inviting you to ask a question that every philosopher, scientist, and seeker has pondered, but never dared to answer fully. Why Earth? Out of the billions of planets, trillions of galaxies, why did consciousness choose this strange little blue sphere? You've been told Earth is a random chunk of rock just lucky enough to be in the Goldilocks zone. But what if I told you? Luck had nothing to do with it. What if Earth wasn't just born? What if it was built, tuned like an instrument, aligned like a clock, infused with divine infrastructure? The waterfalls, the magnetic field, the mycelium network under your feet. This planet doesn't just host life, it is life. Let's talk about ley lines, energetic meridians that run across continents like veins in a living body. These aren't folk tales, these are the neural highways of Earth. Ancient temples, pyramids, and stone circles. They weren't just monuments, they were acupuncture points, activated to resonate with the cosmos, to channel frequencies, to hold Earth in harmonic resonance with other star systems. Do you feel it yet? Earth wasn't thrown together, it was orchestrated. It's not a home, it's a sacred instrument. You've heard of galactic councils, star alliances, cosmic wars. But what they fought over wasn't territory, it was access to Earth. Why? Because Earth was seeded with diversity, with density, with DNA from all corners of the cosmos. This planet is a convergence point, a living archive of every blueprint in the galaxy. And you're carrying a piece of that archive in your cells. But where there is light, there will be those who seek to dim it. Earth's orbit didn't just shift naturally, its vibration wasn't always this chaotic. There were invaders, interdimensional entities, factions that couldn't create, only control. They hacked the grid, bent the field, injected distortion into Earth's electromagnetic pulse. They didn't want to destroy Earth, they wanted to dominate it. Because whoever controls Earth controls the bridge to the divine. So what? You whisper. So what if Earth was engineered? So what if it was hijacked? Here's what. You chose to incarnate here, not as a victim, but as a warrior of light. Because Earth isn't a prison. It's a proving ground, a place where soul meets density and remembers its power through the resistance. You didn't fall here by accident, you were summoned, because Earth was chosen, and so were you. Welcome, cosmic traveler. This is the So What podcast, and I'm your host, The Answer. Tonight, we step into the shadows of forgotten time. Not just myth, not just legend, but memory. A war, so ancient, so wide, it split dimensions. Not for land, not for gold, but for consciousness. Let me take you back. 439,231 Earth years ago. A name echoes through time. Queen Sooty, not a fairy tale monarch, a tactical general of the Orion Empire. Her mission, not diplomacy, domination. Her target, Earth, not for its minerals, but for its blueprint. Because hidden in the genetic codes of Earth's beings was a frequency that couldn't be enslaved. The war wasn't just outside us, it happened inside us. Earth's seed races, divinely tuned, multidimensional, sovereign, were dismantled. Not with weapons of mass destruction, but with weapons of distortion. Consciousness was fractured, memory severed, DNA scrambled. They didn't need to imprison our bodies. They just needed to erase who we were. But not all bowed. Some factions rose, guardians, memory keepers, architects of light. They encoded the truth in temples, in stories, in symbols. Whispers left in chants and dreams, not to fight fire with fire, but to seed remembrance. Because the real resistance wasn't war, it was remembrance. This may sound like fantasy to your logical mind, but tell me, why does your soul ache when you hear these stories? Why do certain symbols stir something ancient in your blood? Because the war isn't over. It never ended. It continues. In every moment you choose fear over truth. In every moment you forget your sovereignty. So what? So what if Orion invaded? So what if Queen Sooty tried to hijack our evolution? Here's what. Because that war fractured you, but it also forged you. And now, you get to choose remain in amnesia. Or remember, you don't need to fight. You just need to align. Because alignment is the end of enslavement. You weren't just affected by the war, you were born to finish it, because your soul was the battlefield, and now it's the throne. Tonight we crack open a darker chamber of the past. We speak not just of battles fought, but of what was broken, not in sky, but in blood. This isn't history, it's anatomy. You see, the ancient war didn't just end in orbit, it ended inside us. Radiation, deeper than science defines, pierced the earth and its inhabitants. It altered everything, your blood, your skin, your light. We once had copper-based blood, green as the forests. It sang with the frequencies of the earth, but after the fall, that harmony was severed. The endocrine system, the seat of your spiritual signal, was shattered. The pituitary, the pineal, the thyroid, all disrupted. Skin tones diversified, not by sunlight, by survival, by fragmentation. Our green ancestors weren't myths. They were the memory of balance. Until war mutated our form into forgetfulness, the wise ones didn't just die. They went deeper, into caves, into the earth. They became the keepers of frequency. They hid in symbols, sacred geometries, and ritual. Because the surface, it was no longer safe. You ever feel exhausted for no reason? Disoriented in your own life? That's not just anxiety, it's residue. The soul's echo of the body's ancient mutation. You are not broken, you are encrypted, and the code was placed there to keep you asleep. But even encryption fades. So what? So what if our blood was once green? So what if the war scrambled our biology? Here's what. Because what you call you was designed by trauma, but what's underneath is truth. And now, that truth is stirring. When you heal yourself, you don't just restore health, you restore memory. You reprogram the blueprint beneath the ruin. This is the So What podcast, and I'm the answer. This isn't just evolution, it's restoration. Don't forget to subscribe, but more importantly, don't forget to heal, because your restoration restores us all. You've heard of Eden, a garden, a paradise, a myth. But what if Eden wasn't just a metaphor? What if it was an ark? After the wars, after the fallout, Earth was broken. But not abandoned. Eden wasn't a patch of figs. It was a biosphere, a domed sanctuary built by architects of sound, geometry, and love. It preserved more than plants. It preserved memory. The creators of Eden weren't gods. They were builders, genetic scientists, spiritual engineers, not to dominate, but to restore, to tune this broken song of Earth back to harmony. They encoded frequencies in stone, balance in water, coherence in air. The garden wasn't an origin story, it was a recovery plan. The texts, remember, barely. Genesis, the tablets of Sumer, the stories of beginnings. But they've been bent into parable. Why? Because humanity forgot how to read the code, but the code still pulses, in the earth, in our bodies, in our dreams. Eden wasn't lost, it was encrypted. And guess who carries the key? You do. So what? So what if Eden was a dome city? So what if interstellar engineers came here to build sacred shelters? Here's what. Because you're longing for peace, your ache for harmony, it isn't nostalgia, it's resonance. You're not looking to go back to Eden, you're looking to become it. You're not just remembering paradise, you're rebuilding it through you. Look up, you see one sun, maybe two, an old myth, but what if there were once three? Our solar system wasn't always this quiet. Long ago there was balance, not between planets, but between suns. 3 anchors of light, 3 harmonics of consciousness, 3 stabilizers of creation song. One vanished, and with it, so did part of you. That third sun, maybe a brown dwarf, maybe a light unseen, wasn't just a celestial body. It was an inner tuner. Its frequencies didn't burn skin, they ignited soul, but when it fell or fled, everything rippled. Earth's axis trembled. Our energy fields dimmed, and humanity started forgetting. You felt it, not with eyes, but in dreams, in the silence between thoughts. That lost sun was a mirror, and when the mirror cracked, we stopped seeing ourselves clearly. The internal sun, the divine spark, flickered. Not out, but in. It became memory. It became myth. That third sun isn't gone, it's dormant. And guess what? You are the match. Your breath is a switch, your focus a flame. When you align with truth, when you release the old distortions, that inner sun relights. And when it does, you won't just glow, you'll remember. So what? So what if a third sun vanished? So what if we forgot? Here's what. Because that story is your story. And the end of that sun is not your end. It's your ignition. You are the return of the radiance, the rebirth of the trinary song. The light wasn't lost, it was placed within, waiting to shine again. You've heard the phrase, you are powerful. But what if that wasn't motivation? What if it was memory? You've been trained to reach outside for tools, for tech, for gods. But the ancient ones, they reached within. They knew the most advanced technology was a human aligned with truth. Let's redefine tech. It's not metal and wires, it's breath, it's thought, it's frequency sculpted by discipline. Your mind is a code editor, your emotion is the voltage, your body, a transmitter with alignment. You don't just react to reality, you restructure it. In temples of stone and ceremony, they left clues in chants, in breathwork, in sacred math. These weren't rituals, they were activations, practices for tuning human beings into divine instruments. To remember isn't to imagine, it's to reboot. So what happens? When we forget, when we trade ceremony for screens, we become programmable, reactive, fogged. But when we remember, when we sharpen focus, silence noise, and align frequency, we re-enter authorship, not of fiction, of existence. So what? So what if you're a transmitter of divine energy? So what if the temple is your body? Here's what. Because your potential doesn't live in the stars, it lives in your stillness. And every time you remember, you restore more than yourself. You realign the grid. You don't need permission to reclaim your force, you only need to tune in. You've remembered, you've realigned, now you rise. But what does that mean? Let's be clear. Remembering isn't about history books or timelines, it's not about facts, it's a frequency. It's that whisper in your soul that says, I've been here before. It's a vibration, not of learning, but of returning. Here's the truth, the greatest oppressor you'll ever face lives inside. Fear, doubt, shame, not emotions, programs. Code implanted to keep you compliant. Healing isn't putting a bandage on it, it's rewriting the code, it's spiritual revolution. So why rebuild? Why not escape? Because we're not just here to survive, we're here to design. The old world was built on forgetting. The new one must be built on awake consciousness. You don't need to recreate Eden. You are here to create what's never existed before. So what is rising? It's not rebellion. It's return to presence, to purpose. It's becoming the living memory of divine intelligence, walking in shoes, living in clarity, and radiating as blueprint. So what? So what if the journey hurts? So what if the path bends? Here's what. Because you weren't meant to crawl through life blind. You were born to build with vision. You are the architect. You are the memory. You are the future. And when you rise, we all rise with you. This is the So What podcast, and I'm the answer. You've remembered, you've healed, and now you rise. Don't forget to subscribe. But more importantly, don't forget to become the new world. Because when you rise, so does everything. You've heard the myth, a garden, a serpent, a fall. But what if Eden wasn't metaphor? What if it was memory? Imagine not a field of fig trees, but a biosphere, a sanctuary sealed from the fallout. Not just nature, encoded harmony, sacred frequency preserved inside divine architecture. Built not to hide us, but to help us remember. These weren't gods, they were guardians, carriers of resonance, builders of light. They seeded not just trees, but truth encoded in sound, color, ritual, and geometry. These domes weren't just shelter, they were sacred circuitry, temples of coherence. Scriptures didn't get it wrong, they got translated. The garden, the exile, the memory, it's all there. But buried under dogma and distortion, because the truth was too powerful, too revealing, too close to the code they needed you to forget. So what? So what if Eden was a dome city? So what if it was a vibrational vault? Here's what. Because Eden isn't behind us, it's within us. You don't return to paradise. You activate it, in your breath, in your cells, in the way you walk through this world in harmony. We don't rebuild Eden, we become it. This is the So What podcast, and I'm the answer. Tonight wasn't about discovering Eden, it was about decoding yourself. Don't forget to subscribe. But more importantly, don't forget to awaken the garden within, because the paradise you lost was encrypted in your soul, waiting to be remembered. 2 suns rise. But there was a third, and when it vanished, so did something inside us. Imagine a solar system anchored by 3 suns, a radiant trinity, not just light, consciousness, not just heat, frequency. This wasn't myth, it was stabilization. 3 suns harmonizing planetary magnetism, cycles, even memory, until one blinked out. It wasn't just astronomy, it was alignment. One of the suns, maybe a brown dwarf, held the sub-frequency codes. It didn't shine bright, it hummed. Its disappearance shook more than gravity. It shook our DNA, dimmed our internal sun. The human soul flickered, the veil descended. The loss wasn't random, it was mirrored, as above, so below. The cosmos lost light, so did we. We traded radiance for routine, vision for logic, clarity for control, and the world began to calcify. So what? So what if a third sun once bathed us in harmonic memory? So what if it vanished? Here's what. Because the third sun is still alive, in you, not in the sky, in the soul, the spark that sees beyond the veil, that hears before sound, that feels truth before it's spoken. It's not lost, just waiting for you to relight it. This is the So What podcast, and I'm the answer. You don't need to wait for the sun to rise, you are the rising. Don't forget to subscribe. But more importantly, don't forget to ignite what was hidden. Because the third sun never really left, it became you. You've been told power is outside of you. In machines, in institutions, in gods. But what if the most advanced technology in the cosmos is your aligned consciousness? Let's get this straight. You are not a biological accident. You are spiritual technology. Your breath, your frequency, your mind, all are tools of creation. The ancients knew this. They didn't wait for salvation. They practiced activation. Spiritual technology isn't fantasy. It's intention, precision, awareness. Your thoughts are a programming language. Your emotions are amplifiers. Your body is a transmitter. Reality, it's output. You're not here to observe the world. You're here to shape it. Egypt, India, the Andes, the dream time. They weren't just cultural myths. They were operating manuals, encoded in breathwork, movement, sound, symbol. The temples weren't worship spaces. They were calibration chambers to align human consciousness with divine circuitry. If we stay distracted, fragmented, reactive, then we stay programmed, ruled by fear, moved by manipulation. But when we remember, when we realign, we don't just heal ourselves. We recalibrate the planet. So what? So what if the ancients had codes of light? So what if you are the tech? Here's what. Because you've waited long enough, not for a savior, but for your own switch to flip. And now, it's go time. You were built for this. Not metaphorically, literally. The universe encoded itself as you. If you've made it this far, you're not just curious, you're remembering. And now we come to the moment that defines us all. Not the past, not the pain, but the rise. Let's make something clear. Remembering isn't recalling facts or names, it's a vibration, a tone in your soul that suddenly hums, yes, this is who I am. It's when tears fall, and you don't even know why. It's resonance, it's return. The greatest war, it isn't out there, it's inside. Fear, shame, doubt. They're not emotions, they're programs. Installed to block your access to divine knowing. They didn't start with you, but they end with you. Maybe you've wondered, why not just transcend? Why not leave this broken system behind? Because we're not here to escape. We're here to build anew. Not Eden 2.0, but something this universe has never seen, a civilization born of remembrance. The rise isn't revolution, it's restoration. You're not being called to perfection, you're being called to presence, to live as if you remember. Because when you do, the codes activate, the grid heals, and Earth breathes again. So what? So what if remembering hurts? So what if rising is messy? Here's what. Because you are the blueprint, you are the bridge, you are the one you've been waiting for. This is the So What podcast, and I'm the answer. You've remembered, you've healed. Now you rise. Don't forget to subscribe, but more importantly, don't forget to become the new world. Because when you rise, we all rise with you.